October 1st, 331 BCE. On the plains near Gaugamela, in the heart of Mesopotamia. Imagine it, a vast, exposed field. No cover. No escape routes. Across the swirling dust, a staggering 250,000 Persian warriors formed ranks, the mightiest force the ancient world had ever assembled. To the Persians, victory was a foregone conclusion. This wasn't a battle line, it was an execution squad. At its core towers Darius III, the unchallenged ruler every soldier in Asia had been raised to revere. A figure who demanded obedience, not opposition. Opposing him, a mere 47,000 Macedonians, commanded by a 25-year-old monarch who had never tasted defeat, and who now teetered on the brink of oblivion. Alexander the Great. The Persians outnumber him fivefold. Their flanks bristle with cavalry. Scythed chariots lead the charge. Towering war elephants loom behind. By all the laws of ancient combat, this clash should end in a rout before the sun climbs high. But observe what unfolds. By dusk, the Persian Empire will crumble. The self-proclaimed King of Kings will desert his troops and flee for his survival. Alexander will claim the throne of Asia. How did a hopelessly outnumbered force dismantle an empire in a single day? By the close of this account, you'll grasp how the improbable became reality and why it reshaped the course of history. If this style of historical storytelling captivates you, think about subscribing for more. To grasp the significance of Gaugamela, we must first explore Alexander's approach to warfare. One key insight: Alexander waged every campaign as though it were his last stand. In 334 BC, he invaded Asia with only 35,000 troops, not to parley or probe, but to avenge Persia's assault on Greece and assert Macedonia's dominance. At the Granicus River, he charged headlong into the fray, spearheading a cavalry assault that nearly cost him his life when an axe cleaved his helmet. He endured. Persia faltered. A year on, at Issus, Darius himself marched to halt the invader. The terrain was constricted. Persia's superior numbers were neutralized. Spotting Darius, Alexander barreled straight toward him. The King of Kings bolted, abandoning his kin, his riches, and his legions. Alexander didn't merely triumph, he demolished reputations. Post-Issus, the balance of power shifted. Tyre defied him. After a grueling 7-month siege, he razed it. Egypt surrendered without a fight, hailing him as pharaoh. Each conquest echoed the same theme: bold, intimate, irreversible. Yet one observer remained vigilant. Darius lived on, presiding over the empire's core. This time, he was adapting. By 331 BC, evasion was no longer viable. Darius selected the arena: expansive, level, infinite, a landscape primed for encirclement, where sheer volume could prevail. Gaugamela. Darius was convinced Alexander's fortune had expired, that no impulsive surge could rescue him now. Alexander held a different conviction. Battles hinged on confronting the sovereign and shattering him. This time, it demanded total commitment. And at Gaugamela, he was prepared to stake it all. September 30th. The eve of combat. Darius was certain the odds had swung his way. His strategy was straightforward. Chariots would rip through the Macedonian ranks. Cavalry would envelop the sides. Once Alexander was isolated, the empire would obliterate him. In the Macedonian encampment, advisors pressed for a nocturnal assault. Seize the initiative. Sidestep the snare. Alexander declined. I refuse to claim victory through stealth. He craved Darius's gaze upon him. A confrontation in broad daylight. Defeat under the sun. That evening, Alexander surveyed the terrain solo. He scrutinized the field Darius had so confidently chosen, and he pinpointed precisely where the empire would fracture. October 1st. First light. Survey the Persian formation. This isn't merely a host, It's an imperial juggernaut defying all challengers. 250,000 souls, conscripted from every edge of the civilized realm. Cavalry from Bactria and Scythia, lifelong riders. Infantry hailing from Babylon, Media, Syria, India, diverse tongues, varied traditions, unified under one iron will. Leading the vanguard, 200-side chariots, lethal blades whirling from their hubs, engineered to eviscerate foot soldiers. Lurking rearward, Indian war elephants, colossal behemoths intended to pulverize lines before the melee commenced. At the epicenter perched Darius III, King of Kings, overseeing the expanse he had meticulously prepared. On the Persian left, Bessus, directing the premier Bactrian and Scythian horsemen, swift, ferocious, poised to demolish any flank vulnerability. On the right, Moses, overseeing cavalry from Syria and Mesopotamia, securing the opposite edge. This epitomizes imperial might, a force crafted to conclude conflicts in hours. Now shift your gaze to the adversaries. No backups. No room for missteps. At the heart, the phalanx, 31,000 armored infantry, arrayed in tight formation, wielding 18-foot sarissas, forging an impenetrable barrier of spikes. Supporting them, 9,000 agile auxiliaries, peltasts, bowmen, and crack assault units, nimble and versatile, tasked with shielding the front, neutralizing chariots, and exploiting gaps beyond the phalanx's reach. Flanking them, 7,000 horsemen. On the right, Alexander in command, heading the majority of the cavalry, including the elite companions, his precision instrument, aligned for the killing stroke. On the left, Parmenion, overseeing the defensive wing, the Thessalian and Greek allied riders, plus the phalanx's left contingent, charged with anchoring the position while Alexander orchestrated the rupture. Alexander patrolled the ranks. He paused before his troops and declared, "Macedonians, behold them. They battle for coin. They march under duress. You contend because this soil is yours to claim. Greece lies at our backs, and no path home bypasses this plain. Before us looms a monarch who trusts in multitudes to seal destiny. Today, demonstrate what resolve dictates. Maintain formation. Observe my lead. Pursue where I charge. Should I perish, press onward. Better to fall here than endure a life dictated by cowardice." A moment of hush. Then eruption. Shields clashed. Sarissas rang against armor. Not jubilation, resolve. A thunderous cry swept the Macedonian host. The Persian array was so immense its extremities dwarfed the Macedonian front. Flanking wasn't optional, it was inevitable. Thus, Alexander had but one recourse. Strike preemptively. He did. Rather than marching directly, Alexander commanded his whole force to veer gradually rightward, diverging from the smooth slaughter zone Darius had groomed. It appeared a blunder, the sort that invites annihilation. But Bessus, on the Persian left, recognized the peril at once. Alexander wasn't targeting the middle. He aimed to outflank it. To counter, Bessus extended his riders outward, mirroring the shift. Legions of Bactrian and Scythian cavalry elongated the Persian front, draining strength from the critical hub. The sovereign. The core weakened. Continuing the rightward drift, Alexander compelled Bessus to act. Reluctant to engage on uneven turf, Bessus committed. He unleashed his charge. Persian horsemen thundered into the Macedonian right. The lure was swallowed. The Persian left was now entangled. Seizing the moment, Darius deemed it ripe. 200-side chariots hurtled ahead, and the elephants lumbered forth, quaking the soil. The earth trembled. Yet the phalanx held steady. It parted channels. Chariots barreled through voids. As javelins felled charioteers, vehicles careening harmlessly past. The elephants advanced, and suffered alike. Peppered by skirmishers, assailed by lances, They veered into openings, where the phalanx sealed and dispatched them methodically. Darius's ploy disintegrated instantly. Concurrently, on the far flank, Mazius launched his riders at Parmenion, who battled fiercely to preserve cohesion. Witnessing the turmoil, Darius summoned a colossal infantry advance, tens of thousands surging as one, a tidal wave of barriers and blades crashing into the Macedonian corps. The Persians were all in. Every backup, every contingency. And that commitment sealed Darius's doom. With Bessus ensnared and troops siphoned from the middle, a vulnerability emerged. A fragile, tattered segment on the Persian left center, disarray reigning, the king laid bare. Alexander detected it in a flash. Assembling a vanguard of companion cavalry, he pivoted left. Then he stormed. Not toward the masses, toward the monarch. The formation pierced the Persian heart. Abruptly, combat closed in on Darius. Alexander advanced relentlessly, slicing through defenders, inching nearer. Darius, mounting anxiety, braced for confrontation. Then he shattered. Once more, the King of Kings wheeled his chariot and vanished. The instant Darius retreated, the Persian corps unraveled. Command ceased. Formations fragmented. An empire devolved into pandemonium. Bessus withdrew. The remainder scattered. Alexander spied the breach and pursued. Then a dispatch reached him. Parmenion was faltering. On the left, Mazius, oblivious to Darius's flight, neared a breakthrough. Alexander chose as few victors would. He reversed course. He bolstered Parmenion, secured the wing. Only then did the engagement conclude. Darius slipped away. His realm did not. Gaugamela had ended. The Persian Empire lost its anchor. Prior to this clash, Persia endured as a dominant force. Its governors marshaled troops. Its metropolises wielded resources, personnel, and logistics. Darius, imperfect as he was, remained sovereign. Post-Gaugamela, it all frayed. Babylon yielded its portals. Susa relinquished its vaults. Persepolis was torched. Alexander didn't seize Persia piecemeal. He eviscerated its hierarchy in mere hours. Yet the conflict persisted. Darius breathed still. While the king endured, rebellion could coalesce. Thus, Alexander drove eastward, not in quest of lands, but authority. That hunt drew him into the highlands, through constricted defile. In 330 BC, a Persian remnant staged its ultimate defiance in a locale engineered to achieve what Gaugamela failed. Halt Alexander utterly. This was the Battle of the Persian Gate, where the empire's fading aspiration hid in wait, and where Alexander skirted catastrophe more narrowly than ever in his Odyssey. Explore the Battle of the Persian Gate next.